Heavy metal fans have certainly come a long way. From the 80s practices of tape trading to zine creation to try to showcase bands that are trying to break through and become the next big thing, being a fan here in 2016 is now very different, showcasing groups from Bandcamp and other media sharing sites, and then talking about different groups and arguing about them and saying that people are plebes, I'm true, I'm this, I'm that. Things have certainly changed quite a bit, that's for darn sure. But there are still, even within that, certain bands or certain movements that have fan bases within this subgenre of music that take things to an even greater level. They are the ones that are the most efficient and also the most willing to go out of their way to showcase their diehard love and affection for a band. These are the RABID fans, the ones that really love a group to the point where it seems almost like an obsession, almost like they are claiming these group members to be a deity, this music to be God's gift to the world, or perhaps Satan's plague on mankind. Whatever it may be, let's take a look at some of these groups, whether they be for bands, either that or movements within heavy metal. Here's 10 of the most rabid heavy metal fan bases, and we're going to start with number 10. Number 10 is Iron Maiden. This is kind of the OG out of all of these because whenever Iron Maiden was white hot in the 1980s, this was a group whose fan base was definitely trying to spread the wealth a little bit. Now, these aren't the most loud of fans. They're not the ones that are going to go out of their way and try to push their love of Iron Maiden on you. In fact, I can remember being on an old bulletin board for Iron Maiden, and it was probably one of the most chill places that I'd ever seen. Most of the drama on there was, personalities clashing. But either way, they're also very loud about their own band and their own fandom. Definitely criticizing some of the moves that the band has made, whether it be in their sound, either that or their personnel, and definitely having debates regarding whether or not the most recent string of albums, including the Book of Souls, is worth a damn. This is definitely at times a divided group, but one that's very united whenever it comes to one thing, and that's the fact that they love Iron Maiden. Number 9, we have black metal. This is not as prominent these days whenever it comes to being overly obnoxious about things. However, this is a fan base that's certainly grown in size, principally because black metal has grown in size and certainly expanded in sort of like a wavelength pattern. Now, in the 1990s, whenever this movement was first gaining its traction, these were fans that were starting to really latch on to the beliefs and the certain philosophies that some of the musicians, Vargas, Euronymous, etc., were really embracing. Whenever the church burnings happened, there was definitely fear that the fans were going to follow suit and do things of this variety as well. And it's really hard to really calculate just how many actually did do things that were slightly screwed up, either that or decided to plan something that never actually followed through. That being said, these days black metal fans are more often seen arguing with some other folks on the internet about different styles of black metal, or how black metal is the only true style of music. The whole true versus poser debate didn't necessarily be born based out of black metal. However, it's definitely one that got a lot of traction in memes thanks to the subgenre in recent times. Number 8 is Dream Theater. You wouldn't have thought this 10 years ago, but with the explosion of Dream Theater's popularity has also come a fan base that basically is the summation of the prog snob ideal. This is something where Dream Theater fans are willing to go out of their way to showcase that John Petrucci and the other members of Dream Theater are God, essentially. So basically, this is kind of what happened. Whenever the universe was created, the ultimate, Big Bang Theory also had one other plan in mind, and that was in the tail end of the 1980s, first part of the 1990s. A band was going to come and be the deity of the world and the universe. All of their music would touch like angels, slowly but surely ETing their way toward your finger. Either which way, this is a group who has also encountered a grand amount of flack based around their beliefs and based around their outward notion of showcasing their love for Dream Theater. That being said, huge Dream Theater fan here, don't necessarily think everybody is God. Number 7, we have nu metal, and this is something that also doesn't seem like it's as prominent these days, but then you talk about it, and all these folks come out of the woodwork. There are many out there that experience nu metal firsthand and don't want it to be left as this afterthought of music, either that or this cancer of heavy metal that actually showcased or caused some of the doom and gloom that heavy metal experienced. Au contraire, mon frere, they say. Nu metal actually saved metal. It actually kept metal going while we were awaiting the next big wave, which we got through metalcore and the explosion of the scene in Europe and other portions of the world, which was already there, but now America could freaking see it. Oh boy. Nu metal is kind of a polarizing opinion factory, and that's certainly one to be believed. It's one where if you criticize those bands of old, even just doing so in a reflective stance, noticing that the nostalgia factor doesn't exactly cause the music to age very well, their level of being upset goes kind of through the roof. These are still their favorite bands. They still model their lives over nu metal. It's actually kind of sad. Number 6, we have Five Finger Death Punch. You might as well just call this what nu metal is going to look like in the future, I guess, with a fan base. These are folks that are very dedicated to FFDP for a couple of different reasons. The music got them through some difficult times. They do a lot of work with the armed forces and the military here in America, which should obviously demand our instantaneous respect, and we should praise everything that they do because of what they're doing for our boys and girls that are serving overseas. It's like they forget that there's that whole opinion thing that happens whenever you listen to something. Sometimes you just turn something on and it's just kind of not what you had in mind, either that or it's not that good to you. Five Finger Death Punch is a group that certainly has morphed a lot of people into fans of this group, considering their cover of Bad Company, as well as some of their originals that definitely have a aggressive approach that also has a little bit of heart behind it, and that's something that they're easily able to get behind. However, they're also loud and proud whenever it comes to people that are saying that the band's not all that great. Take a look at the 5 reasons people hate Five Finger Death Punch video that's right up somewhere here, and you'll understand exactly what I mean. More dislikes than likes. My brand! Number 5, Avenged Sevenfold. This has been going on for a while. It's calmed a bit, however, Avenged Sevenfold fans are still out there in big numbers, and they still talk about the band in big numbers. And this is more of a pride issue anymore, but whenever this band was first getting white hot in the middle portion to the late portion of the 2000s, this was getting to downright annoying status, where these fans were everywhere, and if you had any opinion that wasn't Avenged Sevenfold is the best band ever. Sinister Gates is the sexiest band ever. M. Shadows is the best singer ever. Oh my god, the Rev, please have my babies, or shoot your babies into me. You were public enemy number 1, 2, 3, 10,407, and 69 all at the same time. As I said, this has certainly cooled down, and a lot of folks have sort of gotten the ability now to talk about the band freely without being swarmed by fanboys and fangirls. However, that rabid nature definitely showcases a couple things. First of all, Avenged Sevenfold was able to apply to a large audience. And number 2, maybe these days it's not as large because they were able to get some of the rubbish out. And either way, this is still a fan base that has one of the loudest and proudest groups of people that is behind this group. Number 4, modern metal, deathcore, gent, true, whatever you want to call this. This is not one movement, but it's principally the same argument for each movement. Yeah, it's these fans of modern metal, or of deathcore, or of gent, or of the true metalheads. We go back to that black metal argument where it's true versus cult. Basically, any sort of separation that showcases some sort of elitism, either that or showcases one fan as better than the next, principally because they like these bands as opposed to these bands. Well, I like Emperor Within Temptation. I don't like plebe bands like Disturbed or Atreyu. I only like real metal bands like Winter Sun or Vinder. I don't like those plebe bands like Slipknot, either that or whatever it may be. It might be the other side. I like Slipknot. I don't need that rough stuff that you get from Cannibal Corpse. Either which way, this is something that is understandable because it's part of taste. However, the way in which it's reflected is the problem. It's absurd. You know what I'm talking about. I need not explain further. Number 3, Metallica and Megadeth. These are tied because, principally speaking, a lot of the flack and mudslinging is toward one another. Like it's some sort of perpetual shit-tossing contest, or, one of them's Hillary Clinton and the other one's Donald Trump. I'll let you decide which is which. But either which way, this is a band, or should I say a pair of bands, that has had rabid fans for a long, long time, and they are not afraid to talk about it. But on the other side, they also have rabid amounts of haters that may actually be fans of it's really, really wild. Either way, these two bands are two of the biggest in the world, still showcasing why the Big Four and thrash is widely regarded as one of the most important movements of the 1980s heavy metal movement. But at the same time, they definitely make a lot of noise whenever it comes to anything about their band, whether it be positive or negative. Number 2 is Pantera, and this was one that had a loud and proud fan base prior to the death of Dimebag Darrell, but after that happened, it absolutely exploded, and it came to the point where at certain times within the past 5 to 10 years, it has almost felt dangerous to state that you either weren't a Pantera fan or didn't think that Dimebag Darrell was the greatest guitarist to ever live. Almost as though the tragedy immediately elevated him to not only deital status, angelic status, god status, but gold medal status, platinum medal status, that immediately made him the king because he made the ultimate sacrifice. It's as though they compared Dimebag Darrell to Jesus. He went up there onto that stage and then died for the sins of stupid assholes that decided that he was responsible for breaking up Pantera, which is also not true. This fan base is exceptionally loud, this fan base is exceptionally rabid, and they have every reason to be, considering Pantera during the 1990s definitely did their part to keep heavy metal within some interested parties, not only in America, but also overseas. It helped introduce further the groove metal idea that had already started to infuse its way into the genre, and definitely popularized it for future groups such as Lamb of God and others. So Pantera does have an important viability whenever it comes to the heavy metal market. However, the fans sometimes take it to mean that they are essentially the second coming. Number 1, though, is Slayer, and this needs to be summed up in just a couple of different ways. First of all, the 5 reasons people hate Slayer video. The comments on that are absolutely hysterical. Please, go over there and watch that video, but after you're done, or even while you're watching it, just scan through the comments a little bit. It's a real treat. Second of all, there are people that have, carved Slayer into their arm, or to their head. There's tattoos. There's everything. This is a band that is a culture all of its own. It isn't simply just being the fan of a group. This is a culture all of its own, which is something that makes it kind of terrifying to those that are on the outside, but also extremely intriguing, considering Slayer has been able to move this many people into really loving their music, not to mention also being willing to defend them tooth and nail. It's almost become a representation of heavy metal tough guy bravado, almost like a motorcycle gang, except where's the motorcycles? I'm sure a lot of people that are Slayer fans have motorcycles, but it's not much of a motorcycle gang if only a couple of you do. And maybe some of you are actually in the sidecar, because some of you aren't that bright. But a lot of you are extremely interesting, not to mention extremely intelligent. Your defenses of Slayer are fantastic, not to mention the way in which you represent it. I can't say this without a straight face. Some of you just need to build some arguments. Some of you just need to believe that there's counter opinions out there because you're going to encounter them every single day of your life. But it's interesting that we talk this way about Slayer fans, considering that here's a group that has been able to get all of these people together and love this band. Why is that such a bad thing? Why is being a rabid fan such a bad thing? Is it simply because they annoy us whenever we happen to encounter them? Because they won't shut up? Or because they won't back down? Aren't those some principal ideas of what heavy metal is all about? Not backing down, not being quiet, preaching it to the mountaintops, that way everybody can know what it is and what it's about? Either way you want to slice this, Slayer definitely has the most rabid fan base on the planet, and because of that, Slayer is also one of the most important, not to mention successful bands on the planet in the heavy metal department. May not be Metallica rich, but they definitely got something going. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The 10 heavy metal bands or movements with the most rabid of fans. That statement alone is ridiculous. If you have an idea for a top 10 list or something else that you would like to see here on this channel, leave that in the comments below. Did you think there was any that we left out? Do you think Black Sabbath was missed? Because really, the fan base loves the band, but they're not very rabid about it. See, that's the thing. That's the key word. So, if you think that one was missed, leave it in the comments below. My name is CoverKillerNation, and I'll talk to each and every one of you guys next time. Take care.